There is a moment that many parents of twins never talk about out loud. It happens at 3 in the morning, while one baby cries in one room and another wakes up in the other. Your arms feel heavy, your head pounds from lack of sleep, and your mind begins to whisper dangerous thoughts like, "I can't do this anymore." The world often romanticizes parenthood, filling social media with smiling photos and perfect family moments, but behind closed doors, many mothers and fathers are fighting silent battles against exhaustion so deep it feels impossible to recover from. Raising twins can push the human body and mind beyond limits most people never experience. Yet inside that overwhelming chaos, there is also resilience, transformation, and a powerful lesson about survival, balance, and learning how to ask for help before breaking completely. Parents of twins live inside a reality that few people truly understand. Double the diapers, double the crying, double the sleepless nights, and often double the emotional pressure. While love for their children can be limitless, the body and mind are not. Extreme exhaustion can slowly turn joyful moments into emotional survival, creating feelings of guilt, anxiety, frustration, and loneliness that many parents are too ashamed to admit. In this video, we will explore the physical and mental limits that parents of twins often face, why exhaustion becomes so dangerous when ignored, and the practical emotional strategies that can help families survive one of the hardest seasons of their lives. If this topic resonates with you, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment sharing your experience, and join a community where real struggles are discussed honestly and without judgment. The first weeks of raising twins often feel like stepping into a storm that never ends. Parents quickly discovered that traditional advice about newborn care rarely applies when two babies need attention at the same time. Sleep disappears almost instantly, replaced by endless feeding schedules, crying, laundry, cleaning, and constant vigilance. The body begins operating in survival mode, fueled by caffeine, adrenaline, and the desperate hope of getting even 20 uninterrupted minutes of rest. Over time, exhaustion stops feeling temporary and becomes a permanent background condition. Muscles ache from carrying two children repeatedly throughout the day, while the brain struggles to process even simple tasks because of chronic sleep deprivation. Many parents describe feeling emotionally numb, disconnected from themselves, and unable to recognize the person they were before becoming caregivers. Despite all of this, society often expects them to continue functioning normally, smiling through the exhaustion while pretending they are managing everything perfectly without asking anyone for help or understanding. One of the most dangerous aspects of extreme parental exhaustion is how invisible it can become. Parents of twins often normalize suffering because chaos becomes their daily routine. They convince themselves that constant fatigue is simply part of being a good parent, even while their physical and mental health deteriorates. Sleep deprivation affects memory, emotional regulation, concentration, and even immune system function, making parents more vulnerable to illness, depression, and anxiety. Small problems suddenly feel enormous because the brain no longer has the energy to respond calmly. Simple disagreements between partners can escalate into emotional explosions fueled by accumulated stress and frustration. At the same time, guilt begins growing quietly in the background. Parents may feel guilty for wanting time alone, guilty for feeling overwhelmed, or guilty because they cannot give equal attention to both children at every moment. This emotional weight creates a cycle where exhaustion feeds guilt, guilt increases stress, and stress makes recovery feel almost impossible for already overwhelmed parents. Many parents reach a breaking point long before they realize it. The human body has limits, and when those limits are ignored repeatedly, warning signs begin appearing everywhere. Chronic headaches, body pain, panic attacks, emotional numbness, irritability, and sudden crying episodes become increasingly common among exhausted caregivers. Some parents begin forgetting important details or losing track of time because their minds are functioning under extreme stress. Others isolate themselves socially because they feel misunderstood by friends and family members who cannot comprehend the intensity of raising twins. Social media often worsens this problem by creating unrealistic expectations of parenthood. Parents compare themselves to carefully edited images of happy families while hiding their own emotional collapse behind forced smiles. The pressure to appear strong becomes another burden added to an already impossible situation. Over time, many stop acknowledging their own needs entirely, believing that self-care is selfish when every ounce of energy seems required for the children they love so deeply every single day. Relationships are often deeply affected by the exhaustion that comes with raising twins. Partners who once communicated easily may suddenly feel like strangers living inside the same house. Conversations become transactional, focused only on feeding schedules, diapers, bills, and surviving the next day. Emotional intimacy slowly disappears under layers of fatigue and stress. One partner may feel unsupported while the other feels unappreciated, even though both are equally overwhelmed. Resentment can quietly grow when responsibilities seem uneven or when one parent feels emotionally abandoned during difficult moments. At the same time, both individuals may secretly carry feelings of failure because they cannot maintain the same level of patience, affection, or emotional presence they once had. Exhaustion changes the way people speak, think, and react. Words become sharper, tempers shorter, and misunderstandings more frequent. Without intentional communication and mutual compassion, the pressure of parenting twins can slowly erode even strong relationships. Yet couples who learn to acknowledge their struggles honestly often discover that vulnerability creates deeper emotional connection than perfection ever could in their shared journey. Mental health becomes one of the most critical yet overlooked issues for parents of twins. Anxiety and depression can emerge gradually, disguised as ordinary stress until they become impossible to ignore. Many parents experience constant fear about whether they are doing enough, providing enough, or emotionally supporting both children equally. Mothers may face postpartum depression while simultaneously dealing with physical recovery and non-stop caregiving demands. Fathers may suppress their emotional struggles because they feel pressure to remain strong and dependable for the family. Unfortunately, many parents avoid seeking professional help because they believe their suffering is temporary or because they fear being judged as inadequate caregivers. This silence can become extremely dangerous over time. Emotional exhaustion affects every area of life, including decision-making, emotional stability, and physical safety. Recognizing mental health struggles early is not weakness. It is an act of protection for both parents and children. Seeking therapy, counseling, or emotional support groups can provide exhausted caregivers with tools, validation, and reassurance that they are not alone in their overwhelming experiences. Learning to ask for help is one of the hardest yet most necessary lessons for parents of twins. Many people grow up believing independence is strength, so relying on others can feel uncomfortable or even shameful. However, parenting two children simultaneously was never meant to be handled completely alone. Family members, trusted friends, neighbors, and community resources can become essential lifelines during periods of extreme exhaustion. Even small acts of support, such as preparing meals, helping with laundry, or watching the babies for 1 hour, can provide desperately needed relief. Unfortunately, many exhausted parents refuse assistance because they fear appearing incapable or burdensome. This mindset often leads to deeper burnout and emotional collapse. Accepting help does not mean failing as a parent. It means recognizing human limitations before reaching complete physical and mental breakdown. Strong families are not built by pretending to handle everything perfectly. They are built through shared responsibility, emotional honesty, and the willingness to lean on others during difficult seasons that would overwhelm almost anyone facing the same relentless demands daily. Creating sustainable routines becomes essential for surviving the long-term challenges of raising twins. Perfection must be abandoned because unrealistic expectations only increase emotional pressure. Parents who constantly attempt to maintain spotless homes, perfect schedules, and flawless parenting standards often end up sacrificing their own health in the process. Instead, survival sometimes means simplifying life as much as possible, prioritizing sleep whenever opportunities appear, dividing responsibilities realistically, preparing meals in advance, and accepting that some tasks can wait are important forms of self-preservation. Rest should not be viewed as a reward earned after completing endless responsibilities. It is a biological necessity. Parents who ignore their own physical needs eventually lose the energy required to care effectively for their children. Emotional routines matter as well. Taking even small moments for silence, breathing exercises, short walks, or personal reflection can help calm an overstimulated nervous system. These practices may seem insignificant, but over time they create emotional stability that allows parents to respond more patiently and compassionately during overwhelming moments of daily chaos and exhaustion. Another important reality many parents eventually discover is that children do not need perfect parents. Twins do not require constant perfection, endless energy, or emotional performance every moment of the day. What children truly need is emotional safety, love, and caregivers who are willing to keep trying even after difficult days. Exhausted parents often place impossible pressure on themselves because they fear making mistakes that could emotionally harm their children forever. However, children are deeply resilient, and healthy parenting includes moments of imperfection, repair, and emotional honesty. Saying, "I am tired," or admitting overwhelm does not destroy a child's sense of security. In many ways, it teaches empathy, humanity, and emotional authenticity. Parents who allow themselves grace during difficult seasons create healthier emotional environments than those who constantly hide stress behind forced perfection. The goal is not to become superhuman caregivers who never struggle. The goal is to remain emotionally present enough to love consistently while accepting that exhaustion, frustration, and vulnerability are natural parts of raising children under intense circumstances every single day. As twins grow older, many parents slowly begin rediscovering parts of themselves they thought had disappeared forever. The exhausting newborn phase eventually changes, even when it feels endless in the moment. Sleep gradually improves, routines become more manageable, and emotional breathing room begins returning little by little. Yet the experience often leaves lasting emotional lessons behind. Many parents emerge stronger, more compassionate, and more aware of their own limitations than ever before. They learn that strength is not the absence of exhaustion, but the willingness to continue caring while recognizing when support is necessary. They discover that vulnerability is not weakness, and that emotional honesty creates deeper human connection than pretending everything is fine. Most importantly, they realize survival itself can become a form of victory during the hardest periods of parenthood. The scars left by exhaustion may remain, but so does the knowledge that they endured something extraordinarily difficult. Inside that struggle, many parents discover resilience they never knew existed within themselves until life demanded everything they had emotionally and physically. Extreme exhaustion changes people, especially parents raising twins under constant pressure and responsibility. It tests the body, challenges the mind, and forces individuals to confront limits they never imagined reaching. Yet it also reveals something powerful about human resilience, love, and the importance of compassion toward ourselves and others. No parent should feel ashamed for struggling under overwhelming circumstances. Asking for help, resting, setting boundaries, and protecting mental health are not signs of weakness, but essential acts of survival. Parenting twins may push people to their limits, but limits are not failures. They are reminders that every human being needs support, recovery, and understanding. If you are walking through this difficult season right now, remember that exhaustion does not define your worth as a parent. The fact that you continue showing up despite the fatigue already says more about your strength than perfection ever could. Healing begins when parents stop pretending they are invincible and finally allow themselves the same care they constantly give to everyone else.